Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sharp, St. Andrews class of 68, and welcome to the Rocks and Razorbacks podcast. Here, we feature conversations with remarkable alumni, teachers, and administrators from both Middleton and St. Andrews high schools. This is a great way to share meaningful stories and keep our memories alive of growing up in West Ashley. Now for today's show.
Patrick Cunningham was a track star for Middleton in the late 1990s. I met him at a recent class of 99 reunion that he helped organize. No doubt fond of his high school, I asked Patrick why these reunions were so important to him. His answer? Because we're all dying off. Well, I knew that I had to talk to him on camera. Have you always spearheaded these type of reunions?
No, first one. And it was hectic. Trying to get everybody to come, people you don't remember, some people you've forgotten, people you never didn't even know to begin with, and people you did know. You know, corralling all these people in one area and trying to get the word out is a lot. And I was involved because I lived here. The other people on the board with me, they weren't here in Charleston. So by default, I was the one that was spearheading a lot of it. I don't mind it. I can tell you that the next go around, I will gladly hand the hat off to someone else. But it was a pleasure meeting people, seeing people that you remember, some faces you don't remember, checking in with people that you had friendships with or passing in the hallways back then. It was good to have those people around. So what we did it was a reunion for everybody that went to Middleton. So it was class of 99 sponsored it, but we opened it for everybody to come. So we probably had a little over 100 Middleton alumni show up. I think the furthest back we had was 71. I think that was the furthest back we had. So yeah. I'm happy with that. We had 2 people from 71 actually. And
I dropped in with friend Charlie Howell and the class of 79.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember the spread is like a oyster roast type thing.
Yes. We had a frogmore stew.
Well, let's go back in time about growing up in Charleston.
I grew up originally downtown in Charleston on the corner of President and Cannon Street. For some people, it can go back that far. There was a laundromat. My grandfather owned that. The gas station across the street was called Shorty's. Right next to the laundromat was a television TV repair shop on President Street. And the house I grew up in was a 3-story colonial style brick home that my grandfather had as well. And I was a little kid that sat on the sidewalk in the stroller. Back then, you didn't have to worry about crime. Well, my grandfather worked inside and I sat outside and all the neighbors and customers would walk by, and that's little Patrick right there. And that's how a lot of people still to this day know me.
But you're 6'3".
I'm 6'3" now. I was small back then. Then I moved in with my mother in West Ashley after my grandfather passed in January of 95. Took a few years, but I moved in with my mom after that. And that's when I came over to West Ashley off of Playground Road in the Forest subdivision. From there, that's when she moved me from Burke High School to Middleton High School. And that's where my Middleton Razorback journey started.
Excellent. Did you partake in any sports on Playground Road?
I ran track. I was a track guy. I was pretty fast. I still hold the school record in the 4x4, and we were 0.2 seconds from the state record.
Wow.
So we were booking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not easy to do. I think I tried out for track one day, and then the next day I was not there. I like chasing balls. So I like chasing baseballs or tennis balls. Those are my sports. It sounds like you really enjoyed overall your high school days.
I did. It was a little different coming to Middleton as a junior versus starting there as a freshman. A lot of faces I didn't know. Some I did because my mother had lived in West Ashley. So when I went to go visit her on the weekends, I could see some people and I was in school with them now. Some other people knew me from Burke. Burke had the academic magnet program at the time was at Burke. So some of the Middleton students had left the academic magnet program before I left Burke and were there, and they remembered me from Burke then. So I came in with some people that knew me, but I still had to make a whole bunch of new friends and new relationships and new bonds when I got there. But I liked it. Yeah, I lived on North Sherwood off of Playground Road right in front of the pool, and the kids on the other side of the street went to St. Andrews, and the kids on the right side of the street went to Middleton, which was odd. I didn't understand that.
So you started at Middleton your junior year.
Yes.
Right. So if you were to go back there in time and kind of like walk those halls again, what kind of feelings do you remember?
I mean, I remember my first day there, which was, you go in there I walked in there with like, oh, I don't know anybody, I'm the new guy, and I was kind of like apprehensive. But the benefit of coming in later in school when nobody knows you, or some people know you, but not a lot of people know you, is people set eyes on you for the first time, and you're the hot ticket there coming. I don't want to toot my own horn, but back in the day, I've had hazel eyes, I was in shape, I walked those halls. I was well known by the first week I was there. So, and that was not a bad thing. I didn't mind that. And I was an athlete too. So I fit in really quick. I could play basketball. I was good at sports, ran track. I was pretty intelligent.
So were you 6'3" then?
No, I was about maybe 6'1", 6'2". I guess the coach, he knew I ran when I went to Burke High School, and I was pretty good there. He saw me do the triple jump and the long jump, and I was walking down the hallway, and he said, "You were at a track meet for a different school last year." I said, "Yes." "You coming out for track?" I said, "Okay." So by that point, I just said, that would be fine. I didn't want to overburden myself. At the time, Middleton's basketball program was really good, and I played basketball growing up, but I also understand the dynamics of basketball in team sports like that. You come in, and even if you get on the court, if someone's buddy who they've been playing basketball with for years has to sit because of you, it's not a very good relationship out the gate. So I didn't feel like dealing with that. I just said, you know what? I'll just go ahead and do track. That's individual and team, and I'll be fine. I'll fit right on in. That'll be no problem. And I was correct. It didn't take away from other time. So I still had time to do other things. I worked as well, so that was fine.
Well, tell me about the coach and your teammates on the track team.
My junior year, my junior year and my senior year, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I loved it. It got me out to do certain things. I got to see other schools. At the time, Timberland High School had just been built, so that was the marquee school in the state, and I got to go out there a few times to see the school that looks like a prison. So I got to go see that. And at the time, they had the a stadium and a revolutionary style track. So it's pretty good to go out there and see that. I got to run against some people that were really good. There was a guy named Carl Thomas who went to St. Andrews. He was a defensive end, and he actually went to USC in North Carolina to play football. And he was about, I'd say 6'5", 250, 260 pounds, but I've never seen anyone jump over a hurdle and run that fast. I mean, I couldn't keep up with him, and I was slender. And it was just, wow. My buddy Carlton Massey, who's passed on now, he went to St. Andrews as well, and he was a little short guy, but he could out jump anybody. So I got to go against him quite often. And I actually left there and went to the Citadel and was on the track team at the Citadel as well. So it springboarded me into going to college to run track. So
wow, fantastic.
Yes.
Did you finish at the Citadel?
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, I just kept doing track the whole time.
Did it lead you to the military?
I did join the military, but not because of the Citadel.
Okay.
I went in the reserves, did that, and I realized after a while I wanted to join the military, and I never went anywhere. So, that was fun. I did my time, and I came out, and I became a firefighter here in Charleston. And upon doing that, I left, went to Louisiana as a firefighter, and at that point I'd been burnt enough and fell through enough roofs and off of roofs and through floors that let's put these up. And I said, time to go in the corporate world. So I went out to Portland, Oregon, and was a plant manager for a large HVAC company. Did that for a while and met my now wife and decided to come back to Charleston.
Well, let me just tell you right now, if I have a kitchen fire or anything, I'm calling you. Okay. Somebody raised you right. What do you attribute that to?
My grandfather. I call him my grandfather just so everybody would know, but I called him Daddy. I didn't grow up with a father. So my grandfather, I lived with my grandparents. So, naturally, Daddy, Mama, well, I didn't have that natural dynamic. I did have my mother, but she was in and out of the picture. So my grandfather, PTA meetings, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, baseball, basketball, soccer, football. He was there for everything. He didn't miss anything. Recitals, everything like that. So church, anything like that, I was there for, right by his side. So he was my daddy. That's what I called him. I never called him, me and him, I never called him granddad, but to describe it to you, he was my grandfather, but he was my dad.
That's wonderful. Let me just segue to your thoughts and feelings about racial relations at Middleton back in the day. I do get asked by some other folks to be sure to ask almost everybody that I talk to about it, and that's why I bring it up. I know each person has their own story and own experiences, and I get it. And so, but I'd love to hear yours if you had anything to share.
I mean, I didn't notice anything. I never had an issue at all. Ever since I was younger, I fit in a lot of different sectors. I mean, I don't pigeonhole myself in a box. I don't conscribe to the black, white, Now, granted, I'm not stupid. I know what I would be classified by most people, and that's fine. But I am biracial. I mean, I can't hide that. I mean, it's obvious if you look at me. But I never had a problem. That doesn't mean someone never say anything behind my back, but outwardly to my face, I didn't see that. And I know friends that I still have from Middleton to this day, the relationships interactions we had were both white and black, and everybody was having a good time. So either that or I was naive, which could have been a little bit too. But I mean, looking back on it, I can't pick out a point or an actual incident that could have gone the other direction because of that. So I didn't realize that at all.
Your senior year, what comes to mind with your senior year?
Wow, I was looking forward to graduating. I didn't know what my road was going to be, whether I was going to go military or go college. I had some scholarships from South Carolina State, Claflin, Benedict, for track. And I took the opportunity to go to the Citadel, because my mother had a good friend named Bobby Pickering. I want to say Bobby Pickering at one point was the resource officer over at St. Andrews. I might be wrong. He may have been, but he also worked at the Citadel as well, because he was a liaison officer over there as well. And she applied for me to go to the Citadel, and I was accepted. And she informed me that I was not going to the military, I was going to college. It was either that or leave her house. And I had nowhere else to go, so that's where I went.
That's a good story. And, very faithful story, and maybe you'd say now is for the best, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason,
Well, you have obviously real love for your high school days, especially Middleton. Do you have your yearbooks?
They're at my parents' house.
Right.
They're at my parents' house. I was slender back then. I had hair. I don't have hair now. I had lots of earrings. I think in some pictures I had a mustache and some I didn't. I didn't have facial hair back then on my chin back then, but I did have a mustache. And I remember sometimes I would shave it, sometimes I wouldn't. It all depended. But
what else did you keep from those days?
Well, I got all of my letters from 2 years of track. awards, trophies, attendance. I was there in school every day my junior year. My senior year, you started getting early outs and late ends, and you start school late, and some days you're like, oh, I'll take a personal day, and you just don't go. But you're hanging out with your buddies at the mall, running away from the police officers that are walking the mall, because back then truancy was a big issue. So if you were caught out of school during that time, they would put you in the cruiser and take you back to school. They don't do that now. But back then they did. So I guess it was the thrill of the hide and seek, I guess. Oh, we won't get caught. Oh, we were running for no reason. I don't know. But it was fun. I remember Mr. Parlor, the principal, for sure. He didn't like me too much. Not because I did anything. It was because of the neighborhood I was in. And the neighborhood I was in didn't have some of the best, I guess. But they would come to school, and I came in on that bus. And, the constant feeling to fit in, you start dressing like, acting like, whether you're like that 100% or not, you still dress and act like that. So I would dress white t-shirt, blue jeans, and come to school. Mr. Parlor labeled us a gang. We were not. That's just what we did as a neighborhood. And he was not a fan of me.
The track star?
He was not a fan of me. Yeah, he wasn't. But, it's just, it was a little bit knuckleheadish on me. I probably should have separated myself a little bit at times. But, they were people I knew. They lived in my neighborhood. We were friends. They didn't do me any wrong. And, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just guilty by association. Let's say that. So I wasn't 100% innocent all the time, but a lot of it was guilty by association.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit worthy of the
just a little bit.
attention.
I may have been there.
Uh-huh. When the district decided to merge St. Andrews and Middleton together, you graduated in 99. 2
years before that happened.
Okay. What were your thoughts when you first heard this was going to happen?
It's like, why would you destroy the rivalry? For my generation at least, Friday night football games, we played, if there was a home game or an away game in St. Andrews and Middleton was playing, they played off of Wapu Road. You had the game. Immediately after the game, there was Checkers and Taco Bell right on Highway 17. That park in the Piggly Wiggly, that parking lot was packed after the game. It was an event. It was like an outside nightclub for teens after the game. You had St. Andrews, Middleton there, a little jaw jacking, but it was all innocent. It was just, why would you want to destroy that rivalry? We all had friends at St. Andrews. St. Andrews had friends at Middleton. There were girlfriends at St. Andrews. There were boyfriends at Middleton, and vice versa. We all lived in the same neighborhoods, but they took it away, and they went with West Ashley High School. I don't know why that had to be done. I figured you could just expand, at least on Middleton. Middleton still had the room to expand. We didn't have a football field, so it wasn't like they were taking away from anything. And then you had your track, but towards the back area, there was nothing back there. It seemed like you could have built and kept the school going, but they saw fit to do other things, and now they're tearing it down. So that's coming soon. So I make sure I get myself a brick.
Now this is, for this recording, it's a little less than 2 years away. If you were there to witness the bulldozing and demolition, what would go through your mind?
That's my school. That's where I graduated from. I guess as you get older, things that you remember start going away. That's how I feel about Charleston. Downtown Charleston isn't what I remember. I don't even go down there hardly ever. It's been inundated by tourists and northerners that come down and somehow believe that the culture they moved here for, which is why they appreciate Charleston, they want to add their spin on our culture. But that's why you moved here. And now they add their spin, and now it's not Charleston, but then they want to call it Charleston. I'm like, no, that's not it. It's not what I grew up with. So I guess as I get older, it's just a natural part. Things go away. things aren't the same, just like Citadel Mall.
Yeah, I guess progress is the word they use about merging and creating a super school and combining resources. But I think that's what the documentary is about. Is what's the downside of it?
I mean, you lose that rivalry, I mean, granted, new bonds and new rivalries can be formed with other schools, and there's new friendships and things like that, which fine, but you had to create that culture. You already had the culture there, and then now you had to force feed the culture for a few years. But now those kids that go to West Ashley now, they have no idea about Middleton, St. Andrews. Matter of fact, their parents went to Middleton and St. Andrews. All they hear about is stories. So they have their own culture now. So it works now, but I don't have any attachment to that outside the fact that I also coach basketball at C. Williams Middle School, which is right on the backside of it. I coach the 7th and 8th grade girls.
Nice.
So I do my part to give back.
What can we do to keep Middleton and St. Andrews' legacy alive as the years tick away?
Well, as I told people, I said, at the reunion, I said, enjoy what we have right now, because unfortunately, there will never be any more new Razorbacks. There'll be no more St. Andrews Rocks. What we have is what we have. And every day that goes on, there's a possibility that we lose another one. So the numbers will never increase. And eventually we'll get down to a point where there aren't any more. But, I think through places like where I work right now, and the Pub on 61, we can still come in and commune. There's St. Andrews Rocks in here. There's Middleton Razorbacks in here. It's a neighborhood bar. I'm guessing about maybe a mile, not even a mile from Middleton, about 2 miles from St. Andrews, if 2 miles, if that, right on Highway 61. So it's places like this here at the Pub on 61 that, that people can come here and sit down and be like, oh, you look familiar. And you'll be amazed how many times that happens. It's like, oh, I remember you from such and such. Didn't you date so-and-so that went to St. Andrews? Yeah, I was over at Middleton, or vice versa. It's little things like this that keeps that going, but unfortunately, there'll never be any more. This is it.
Thanks for watching today's episode, and be on the lookout for additional episodes. If you'd like to be a guest or even a host in the Rocks and Razorbacks podcast, please let us know. We want the podcast to be the go-to place for cherished Middleton and St. Andrews memories. Don't forget, the Rocks and Razorbacks documentary geared for South Carolina ETV is in production, and we'd love your input and help with that as well. For now, go Rocks and, go Hogs. Well, you get it. Thanks.